What our company does is coordinates the on-site functions, and those on-site functions are the most difficult logistical aspects to do. They require the people, they require the the movement of products and things like that. So what we do is take on that on-site portion so that someone could potentially run things a little bit more virtual, so that they could feel like they're not losing control on every day when there's a million turnovers that are going on.
Welcome back to the Wealth Juice podcast. As always, it's your boys Ryan and Corey here with another episode for you. We are out in sunny Scottsdale, Arizona for Immersion Season 3. Shout out Jesse Ray, Growth House, and today we are interviewing none other than Jonathan Wicks, not to be confused with John Wick. We actually have the real John Wick in the house tonight, right. John Wicks. And dude, we're excited to share your story. You've been a serial entrepreneur since you were 19, and so I'm hoping you can unpack your story for us, give us some inspiration, and let people know what you're doing now.
Love it, man. Glad to be here. Welcome to Arizona. It's still insanely hot, even though it's the fall. This is how we roll.
The evenings are nice, though.
They're getting that way.
Yeah,
now,
like
finally.
low 70s. It was great. So, yeah, it's hot, but they say the dry heat, I don't know.
That's what they say.
Yeah,
it wasn't bad. It's not, I mean, we are in a beautiful part of...
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just seeing the cars that are driving by, the cacti, if you will, the desert. I just love the landscape. I just feel something about here. I don't know what it is. There's a lot of people infiltrating and living here. Like we've seen... I don't know, it's becoming the land of real estate investors or entrepreneurs. And just to get all these super powered people in one room is unbelievable. I just can't believe everybody's flying in. No one had a question to fly in. They're like, oh, it's in Scottsdale? Done, I'm in.
Scottsdale was a trading post, right? When the West was expanding, this is where all the finest goods and all the finest furs would all be traded. And it's still that way. It's still the Wild West. It's still a pioneering atmosphere. And there's a lot of trading in it. And now it's trading of ideas, and it's trading of, like, I think you see people come to this area to grow, to level up. It's a natural place for it.
Yeah, totally. Let's get into your story a little bit here. So, like, serial entrepreneur since you were 19. Let's talk about what you did when you were 19 and how you got in, and then maybe like what was going on in your head. What created that need or want or will to become an entrepreneur? Because if you're 19 and you're doing it, it's like something's in there, right? Like something's making that happen.
Yeah, so I'm 19, I'm in college. I'm in a college that I don't want to be in. My dad's a preacher, and I had to go to like a seminary. So imagine a college with your degree options being pastor, youth pastor, or missionary. So
tough
that's
for a Jewish
it,
guy.
right? Yeah,
Real tough.
Pick which lesser of which evil.
Yeah, pick which one you want, and you don't want any of them at that point. But I knew I was there. I didn't want to go against the family, and so I was like, all right. So I'm thinking at 19, what am I going to do after I get out of school? I don't really want to work in a church, and so I was just kind of Googling things to do, and everybody said you start a company, because I was a driven guy, and got into doing cleaning. I did cleaning for restaurants and really scaled that overnight cleaning. We were doing Red Robins, Red Lobsters, Buffalo Wild Wings, all of their overnight janitorial cleaning with me and my college buddies, and ended up scaling that to where I had a ton of crews and sold it to the CFO of the college, who still runs it to the day. I still use all these college kids doing the cleanings.
So you started it's just you and your buddies doing the cleanings, and then at what point did you end up hiring cleaners so that you could scale?
It was always, we got our first big deal with Red Robin, and that was 4 restaurants that we had to clean overnight. So immediately I needed help, and I'm broke, so I'm just telling my buddies like, hey, I get paid in 90 days. You cool with floating stuff and all that? And it was all from the start. I was always utilizing my network to work with me. I've employed a lot of friends of mine, and that's been successful. I think there's pros and cons to that, but there is a bit of, from the start, I was like, hey, let's get the crew together and start working. And then it obviously went into employing folks that I don't know and all that. But that was the start.
It's fascinating that you a little bit full circle from your first business, right. What you're like focused on now. Like it's not just cleaning, but basically you partner with owners and property managers to handle the cleaning services and the linens and the sheets on short-term rentals specifically. I might be butchering the exact
you nailed it.
So I'd love to know about your business now, and like, are you a neat freak? I wonder if that came into your head of like, this is what I want to do, or is it just really just the Google search that got you into it, and then how did that expand into your business now?
Not a personal neat freak, but I do like things to look right, and so a lot of my companies have been in that servicing a property, making things look right. And that was back in the cleaning space. And then I went into working on empty homes, foreclosed homes that were being serviced, whether they needed a lock change or roofs repaired. That was what we were doing. And for the last 10 years, that was my business. All of that led to me knowing I can service a home. I can work with blue collar professionals. And this short-term rental industry was needing exactly that. It was needing really high-end servicing. And so that's what led me into Well and Good where I am now.
Awesome. Well and good. So let's talk about the in-between phase from the 19 to now.
Yeah.
I know you have some real estate, some other entrepreneurial ventures. When you hear serial entrepreneur, it's like I've heard people start flooring companies and roofing companies and bottling companies and cleaning services, and it's like it doesn't matter. They can find their way to success. So catch us up to the in-between, and then we'll dive more in on your current business and like maybe what you're seeing as what's working.
Yeah. So after graduating from college, I sold that company, the cleaning company, and I went into doing, like I said, working with foreclosed homes. We were doing all the servicing. So I was a contractor. That's really what I was, and I was contracting out different services for these foreclosed homes, and that really led me into success, probably for the first time, where the company was really thriving. It was good. It went through its lulls, but then when it started to succeed. You mentioned buying real estate. I think that's one of the biggest things that you do at that point is you want to buy dirt. Additionally, it was investing in other companies. I bought one of my competitors, and so buying that company was a big springboard to growing the one that I had. I ended up selling all of that in 2019, selling out the majority of that and getting into really diversifying my portfolio. Investing in other companies, investing in startups was really my MO, and it was going to be my MO before starting Well and Good. Yeah.
Dude, I love this. So it's not so often we get to talk to people that are buying businesses, right? A lot of times our niche, and we really niche down, and we talk a lot about real estate and real estate investing, and like all the service companies within that kind of help kind of grow those businesses, right? Which you have.
Yeah.
Can you talk to us about the process of buying a business? Like, how do you even go find where to buy them? Is there a hub online, and like walk us through the process?
Buybusinesses.com or something.
I know it's definitely not that easy, but I was thinking about it. So walk us through.
So for me, it was always things that were right near me. So I knew the space of foreclosure servicing. And so then I'm like, okay, there was people that I knew that were kind of looking for an out, right? And so this was within my network, within people that I knew. And I think oftentimes we are looking for that gem that is, on the other side of an ad or on the other side of a thing. And what we don't realize is that usually what we're looking for, it's closer to us than we think. It's not that thing will just pop out of nowhere. It's probably the dude that you're talking to who's a business owner who's struggling, who maybe wants out, and there's your opportunity.
Wow. So how do you identify an opportunity like that and then taking it to the next stage? I'm kind of looking, just kind of like going sequential here, but like, how do you go about offering? How do you, closing docs, and like, what's the process go? I'm thinking for me, the reason I'm asking this is I think about the process of buying a home. And I know all of the process, but for buying a business, is it as lengthy? Maybe take us through step by step.
So, I mean, it was in this case not a super lengthy process. I mean, we were looking at, they had personnels and they had contracts. So we were looking at, okay, we need to transition the personnel, and we need to basically make sure the contracts are transitioned. This was about like, what do you need to walk kind of thing, and getting to that number was really what it came down to. That number oftentimes is not as much as you think it is. And when you start to talk to people who are really in a lot of entrepreneurial spaces, they're tapped out. They are literally like deciding, should I close these doors? Should I keep them open? There's a lot of the baby boomers that are in this position right now that are deciding, what am I going to do? Is this even worth anything? A lot of times business owners are thinking that. So I think if you have a real relationship with the decision maker and you could talk real numbers, you get to that bottom line, the rest of it is transactional. The rest of it is very simple. Get to the bottom line of like, all right, I could get you an out here.
I love this. I'm getting to, it's so interesting. You mentioned like the relationship aspect here, and like you don't want to nickel and dime people, but they're looking to get out, and there's a huge surge here of the baby boomers retiring, and they want to get out, and there's opportunity for young entrepreneurs to get into the game. Can you talk to how you fund a business like this? Would this be going out and getting a loan? Is this your personal money coming in? Like, how did you approach it? Maybe give us a couple options.
For me, it was personal money, and so I haven't gone through the route of actually applying for lending to buy a business. And I know that that's something that a lot of people are doing, and there's creative ways to go about that. But I did have a cash producing business that was producing me the cash to buy real estate or to buy other companies. And that was my method of it. Cash obviously wins. I mean, if you can, there are a lot of alternate methods out there. And I think there's a lot of them to be explored in today's world. You guys probably interview a lot of people that have those alternative lending.
We do. Yeah, it's funny. And I'm not sure how they parlay into it. If you need business lending or personal lines of credit, like how it would exactly work, and like how people vet that, and if they check in your credit score. But My next phase here is like, it's on the same topic, but how do you value a business? So for you to know, I understand if people are distressed and they're like, hey, I want to get out, that's one thing, but is the business viable and is it going to be successful? Like how did you kind of value the business before you decided to take the plunge?
Well, for me, it's Warren Buffett's philosophy of don't ever buy a company that you don't know, like that you don't fully understand. And so to me, the value of a company has a lot to do with, do you understand it and you know that you're going to be able to operate this successfully? Because just the something that looks good on paper but you don't understand at all is going to really hurt your ability to run that successfully. The person that's operated that has been in the trenches, in the weeds, knowing exactly what's going on. You better know the business at that point. Once you know the actual business, you probably have a good idea of what it's worth. And so like getting the actual information, it personally, I think it's been huge for me.
Cool. Let's talk about well and good. Like you started it here, Arizona, but we were having a conversation prior to jumping on the pod, and like we have property in the Pocono Mountains and in Tampa, Florida, and you mentioned Tampa, like you have relationships in Sarasota, and your business operates there. That's 2,500 miles away, I'm guessing, right? Like, how did you create your hub and then expand into different markets with it?
Yeah, so that was always the goal. We built this to scale was the concept, and not a lot of servicing companies are built that way. Oftentimes servicing companies are just filling a need. They're not thinking big picture. We immediately said this entire industry needs a hub in order to have the servicing be done successfully. And so we did it by building a stupidly strong culture within our team, and that was a culture of literally the people that were doing the work in the properties, building systems the old school way. Like our business is inherently old school in the sense that we have physical locations where people actually get trained by leadership, and these things sound so cliche, but find somebody that's doing it. It's hard to find people that are doing it that old school way. And so we've done it location by location, place by place, typically with partnerships across the country where people are really asking for our service to come to a place like Sarasota. And then we say, all right, we can get a location, we'll get a space, and then we'll start to train based off of those SOPs.
Awesome. Can you break it down kind of in the weeds a little bit more and granularly to like how the business operates? And I'm going to set the stage here. So Corey and I are partners in a short-term rental, property management, hospitality company up in the Poconos. We have roughly 100 units under management, and it's a doozy, man. We have VAs running things, we have people in-house, boots on the ground, and it's just for lack or better word, some days feel like a shit show. And they're not, but it's just trying to organize the SOPs, get people in the right lanes, get the right butts in the right seats, and then, managing costs. There's so much to it, right? And it's a service-facing business, meaning it's not, you're almost like a full-time concierge or the front desk of a hotel, right? Because you're managing all these properties and you're giving people an experience on the short-term rental side versus on the long-term, you have a tenant for a year, 2 years, whatever it is. Every time someone comes in, it's a new customer journey into your business or window in your business. So I'm wondering if you can unpack your business and how people that, like in our shoes, have companies like we do, how can we leverage your services?
Yes. So there are a lot of moving parts to short-term rentals. You mentioned the guest experience, the money side, revenue generation, all that. What our company does is coordinates the on-site functions, and those on-site functions are the most difficult logistical aspects to do. They require the people, they require the movement of products and things like that. So what we do is take on that on-site portion so that someone could potentially run things a little bit more virtual, so that they could feel like they're not losing control on every day when there's a million turnovers that are going on. Our company obsesses over the on-site portion so that your focus as the manager or as the owner of the property can actually be on the guest experience, creating that unique kind of thing, knowing that those basic on-site functions are coordinated.
So does your company, I'm trying to figure out how like the placement within the management company that you would fit in, and just correct me if I'm wrong. Like, would you come in and work with the owner of the management company and be like a liaison to them and say, look, we're going to handle all of the cleanings, all of the restocking, all of that, and then you report to the owner of the company? Or I'm just curious if it's like a revenue share between the revenue that comes in through the management company, or like, do you cut costs for them? Like, how does the operation of it work?
Well, so yeah, we cut a lot of their costs in the sense of typically they're going to have somebody that's doing an inventory management within their company. So that salaried employee is really not needed with our company. They have a flat rate that is a third-party service that can do all of that. So that does cut costs there. It also cuts just their time in their space of like having to inventory products, like all those aspects. And we don't take any sort of revenue share. Everything that we do is flat rate per service. So we are a strict servicing company, not a management company, not somebody who's taking a revenue share of the property. So they would come to us, the manager comes to us and says, hey, I'm already hiring third-party cleaners. What if I just went to one third party, and that oversaw all of the functions of personnel and products.
So can you run me through the services that are all within the business? And,
Yeah.
and just, I want to correct me if I'm wrong here. I just want to make sure I got this landed correctly. But for example, we'd come in and hire your company, and then do you outsource the cleaners and then manage the whole process of that cleaning team in any market?
That's right.
Wow.
That's correct.
So how do you, stage 2 of this is, how do you find cleaners within a market? Do you have people that fly out and to like build relationships within a market? Because we talked about relationship capital and being close by, and like it's so hard for me to visualize how to do this virtually. Like how the heck do you do it?
So we will have on-site leadership in every location. So that means that we have a W-2 employees that are actually leading each location. Those are trained by our leadership, and so those folks are the ones that are going to be training the cleaners, let's say. And so how do we find cleaners? Typically, cleaners have been finding us because they know that we are fundamentally built for them. And so instead of working with a management company, they'd rather work with a full-scale servicing company, knowing that we're going to take care of the laundry for them. We're going to give them the products. We're not going to be asking them to do the laundry in the house the way that a lot of Airbnb cleaners have been having to deal with. And so the cleaners find us, but they're trained by our local leadership that is on site. And we do fly our folks out there initially. I'm out there. I travel a lot, and it's just me and our team that are pouring into these folks. Obviously, you can do a lot remotely, but there's nothing that beats face-to-face. And our business is a lot of face-to-face.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, you are in the service business, you know, your face-to-face is what you do. So that makes total sense. I'm curious how failure has played a role in your entrepreneurial journey, if it has at all, because I say that if it has, because I'm sure it has, but
it always has.
Yeah, it always does. But we've talked a lot about the, you know, people listening are like, damn, this guy's got it going on. He's got a company that's nationwide. You know, he's scaled to incredible heights. But like, I'm curious about the downsides and how failure has played a role in your success.
Yeah. So I think one of the biggest failures that we had was in my second company, the one that worked with foreclosures. We were really obsessed with logistical growth, and we thought, man, we need to service more areas. We need to go. And I remember expanding out to Connecticut and New York, and I'm out there, and it flopped so terribly. We didn't know the culture of those workers. We were not pouring into those people. We just saw it as another location, or we saw it as another, area that we service.
Right?
Expansion, right? And so I just, at that point, really decided I'm not going to fall in love with wide growth. Like, I want depth over width. And even when we say we have 17 locations, we probably could have more right now, but we are very much learning from those failures of, hey, just saying that you service an area or saying that you grew to here is really not it. It's much more like you'd rather be the thing than seem to be the company that is.
What do you say to someone that feels like they're meant for more, but they're too afraid to chase the dream because they feel like they're too late to the game?
Too late to the game. I mean, I think that you're in today's world, literally today's world, there is no too late. There's education absolutely everywhere. There's opportunity everywhere. And I think we underestimate how much time we have too, how much time we have. People say life is short. I say life is long. Life is long. Like I feel like I've lived 7 lifetimes and I'm still young. Like there's plenty of time, but also there's more time than you think in your day, and we are massive time wasters. As today's world, we're all middle-aged guys. We waste so much stupid time, right?
Damn.
We're middle-aged.
Dang.
We gotta be.
I didn't even know we were.
I'm not even gonna give you. I'm 37.
Okay. Yeah.
We're
You're
a couple
middle-aged, we're not.
less. Oh, chill, dude. We got a couple
all
less.
in the phase where distractions are everywhere, and so if somebody is feeling like, could I enter into the game? Could I get into my business journey? I think it's looking at, okay, you're working 40 hours a week. You've got 40 more that you could give right now without even changing anything about your W-2, and like start something, and you got plenty of time to do it.
I totally agree. And the reason I thought about this more recently is Corey recently left his W-2 job, and we're managing a bunch of different things and businesses. We mentioned to this off camera. But one struggle was like, hey, listen, man, like now I'm in this new life, and like, how do I manage my days? Like, what days should I be doing content? Which days should I be prospecting? Which days should I be bookkeeping? Whatever. There's so many way more intricacies than that. But it's different from like when you change course from the 9 to 5, when you're forced into a routine and then you have to create your own. And you realize like we could be focusing on prospecting, right? And like getting people through DM leads on Instagram. But then you get wrapped up in the cycle of Instagram for 2 hours. Like, what am I doing? Like 2 hours go by and you have no idea. You didn't mean to do it. And you just get pulled in. There's so many distractions out in the world today. You still have to make time for yourself. I think we weave in going to the gym, or like you could call it meditation or whatever it is, to like get your mental right before the day. Like that's a big piece. what I found is just getting up earlier. Like I know that like
That's it.
the 5 a.m. dreaming, it's so hard when you have kids too. And like I say, everybody's like probably rolling their eyes like, dude, I'm not getting up at 5 a.m. Like that's fine. But just know like when you wake up before the world does, you can get so much more done. And what I found, I'm a night owl. I crank stuff out at night because out of necessity at this point, but I get so much more done in the morning. Like my brain is fresh. There's no brain fog. I can just grind. And if I get up at that 5 a.m., those 2-3 hours before I have to start my official day, I get so much more done. So to you, is there any like habits or rituals that you feel like you've woven in over time that's really led to you getting to the next level of success?
Well, I was just going to say, I think that strength finding is one of the most underrated aspects of business, where it's like, I know what I'm not good at. And immediately on every business that I've ever set out to do, I have had a integrator that is with me from day one. And so I do think that instead of that email that's just wearing on me that I don't want to send because I'm terrible at the administrative part and typing out and doing all that stuff, I need to make sure I've got a team from the start. And you can do that even if you're a solo person launching out. You can work with, if it's a person overseas or anything, you can find somebody that is going to help you keep yourself accountable, but then also do those things that are the mind blocks that instead of doing that email, you end up going to Instagram for 2 hours because you have a mind block against it.
Can we talk about that? Because I think we're getting to this point where Corey and I, we need to hire that person.
Yeah.
And we've done, I know it's, some people are like, you guys don't already have an assistant. That's crazy. And because we're managing, it is crazy because we've tried it and in certain aspects. We, at one point we were doing creative financing. We had a VA team that would do cold calls for us, right? And then we'd field the calls, we'd try to close them, et cetera. But like in our business, to free up our calendars, to reply to emails, to do things, there's just so many different tasks that we can offload. We're trying to figure out exactly what they are. But can you talk us through the process? It's hard to find someone overseas that we trust.
Yes.
So I want someone locally in the States that at least can understand what we're talking about, because a lot of the SOPs and things you tried to explain, they still don't understand it. And I'm like, I'm not spending my time managing this person when I'm supposed to be getting my time back. It feels like I'm losing more time.
You're going to lose time, especially if you're hiring somebody who you don't know inherently, you don't trust, right? There is so much lost time. I remember trying to find an assistant. I was just thinking, I am spending so much time telling them what to do. I'm losing time in a net aspect. I just would say you've got to actually trust that process. Like you've got to trust. And I think from a hiring perspective, I mentioned how I hired people that I know. There are oftentimes people that you know in your circle that would be willing to add 10, 15 hours a day of, to their week that you could bring into your circle and that you might have a little bit more trust equity built up with right away. I agree it's tough when they're on the other side of the world. But even if they are, it's going to take time to bring in those integrators. And I think it's a necessity for anybody who's actually wanting to start something.
I got one more on this. It's hard to put a value on this, right? But what do you pay a person like that to come in? Let's just say, so for example, I have someone in my mind that is on the West Coast. She's amazing.
Yeah.
And she's helped us with some projects. And I really don't ever have to worry about her. She's really quick on the ball. She's interested in real estate. She's an entrepreneur herself. And I'm thinking about weaving her into our business at some point. And we're trying to figure out how can I put a value on this? How do you know what to pay someone without like lowballing them?
Yep.
Also show the value and like motivate them to want to be part of the team.
Yep. I oftentimes have said, I'm thinking that this would work for me from a compensation. Let's say I'm saying, hey, I've got $300 to spend in a week. Does that work for you? And asking people what they actually want. So many times people are not always motivated strictly by money. If you're a friend who's on the West Coast, it's figuring out what they want. Maybe it's that they need a schedule that's going to work for them. Maybe it's, it's so many things outside of compensation are actually driving forces for teammates. And so we've tried to figure out what are your biggest things that you're trying to get out of this job or out of this gig that you're maybe doing. And sometimes you look at the Uber driver, right? They're driving for Uber. They don't love doing that. They're not getting what they want. You could find that same Uber driver, give them the same money that they're making in Uber, but actually give them what they're looking for, which is maybe the ability to work from home or the ability to do things along that line, work with their mind, not with their body. And I think that's what a lot of times people are looking for, even outside of compensation. But I like to say, here's what I'm thinking. What are you looking for?
I love that, man. And thank you. Cause I always go straight to the money and it's so dumb.
It is always to the money. You're right. Yeah.
So dumb because, and I say it's dumb, but it's naive in the fact I know what I need on a daily basis. Now I have a child in the mix and my wife works part-time and I'm like, it's not about the money so much. It's the time freedom. It's like, how do you work your life into the job? Right. And so, or the job into your life. And I think for her, it's just the only thing that would give me fear is the time difference from, it's actually Arizona, funny enough, to Philly. And I'm like, is this going to work? We've already had trouble with that with our producer who once lived in California. It felt like he was behind the ball on a lot of things because of the time difference. So it's like, it's a struggle, but I really think what I do value is the answer you gave is like, don't go straight for the money. Ask them what they're looking for and how it would impact their life. And there's also an underlying motivation too for people that have been riding with you for a while and like they just want to be part of the brand.
$1,000,000%.
Just be around you, right?
Yep.
Sometimes it can be friends, family members. I kind of try to stay away from that because then once you get them in the mix, like if it doesn't work out, how do you get them out? So I try to go like a little bit of a balance. And I try. We've only done this a couple times, and like it's an interesting balance. I don't know if you've ever hired family or friends or
Always a lot. And I think that what I would say with that is setting checkpoints and saying like, we're going to do this for a couple months and we're going to, ride with this good, bad, or ugly, but then we're going to have a checkpoint here at the end of this quarter or at the end of this year. And we're going to see how this works. This might not be right for you. It might not be right for us. We're okay with whatever that is. We're going to start here and we're going to start somewhere. And I've hired so many folks that I care about. And the thing that I know is that our relationship's going to be good at the end of this, no matter where the end is, whether it's in 3 months or whether it's in 30 years. And I just feel like those check-ins, the people that you care about, let them know I care about you, but let's start something. Let's not so much worry about, is this going to go terribly? Let's say we'll figure that out and we'll make sure to give proper check-ins.
How do you know when you've achieved enough? What do you consider enough? And you just mentioned now expansion for the sake of expansion doesn't bring any. Is that going to make you happier? Maybe, probably not. I mean, maybe if it makes you more money, it does. But I'm very curious about when you know that you've made it and enough is enough.
I think everyone should be solving a fundamental problem that they see in whatever reason that they got into their business, right? So I see an industry with short-term rentals that absolutely had to have standardization. It had to bring confidence to guests. So when I feel like it's enough, it's more on a daily basis where I feel like I've made impact on people's lives. I've actually done the thing that I said I was going to do. I don't know if there's a broad enough like big picture, but I think on a day-to-day basis, I feel like there's enough when it's like, okay, I have progressed the problem that I tried to solve. I'm making movement towards that. Because I don't know. That's a tough question when you're talking about enough. Do we ever feel like we've actually done enough? I don't, until an industry that is a huge industry has entire standardization. I don't think I've done enough, but on a day-to-day basis, I can say like we made an impact here, especially on the lives of the people that are working.
I guess my question was more personally, like less about, like more so like, you're 37, you've achieved a lot. I'm saying, at what point do you feel like, as an entrepreneur, you don't shut off the faucet. That's not what I'm asking. But what I'm asking is if you love what you do enough, maybe you don't ever reach a point where it's like, I don't need to like slow down, right? But I'm curious, is there a dollar figure, or is there a place, is there a time freedom amount where you're able to, maybe you're already there. Is there a place where you feel like, I've done what I want to do. I don't need to be worth $200 million to be any happier in my life.
No doubt. Money, I would say, would not be the threshold there. I think there is a bit of like, for some, for a maverick entrepreneur, you're always a little bit in that run thing. When my run maybe is done, take a CEO. I'm in the CEO role right now. I will not be in the CEO role within 5 years. I'm expecting to appoint a CEO. That will be when I feel like I have done what I can do. And sometimes it even is a bit of humility that says that there's folks who may be able to come in here and do this particular role better than I can. And so maybe it's just that when maybe you feel like you've done enough, when you actually have, not stopped your learning, but you've helped other people come in and build something that somebody could even come and do it better than you can.
I got something here. Go ahead. It's funny. We had a little seminar this morning, he and I, in our cool bedroom over here. Yeah. And so it's just funny. It wasn't over there, and that was weird. I said a cool bedroom, but we were sharing a room here at Growth House.
Please clarify.
Not to be weird. We're bunking together. There you go. But it was actually a breakfast this morning. We were talking about, I was just so thankful that I'm here around the people that were around. I finally feel like I'm in the right rooms. And we talked it was a kind of a question like this, like, when is enough? And like, it's just so interesting. Like my family side, like I feel really good about that. Like we have an 18-month-old. I feel so fulfilled. My wife and I are a really good place. We have the house, we have the kids, we have the car. Like everything's like comfortable in a way on that side of my life. Right. But on my other side, I feel like I'm just scratching the surface. Like I still have the W-2 job while we're building all these businesses. We have a ton of real estate. Like I'm good on that too, but like my potential, I feel like I'm just scratching the surface. But this weekend has validated, like being around all you guys who are just like at the next level of things. And like, and I say next level, I just mean next level of your professional lives, and you're doing things at such a masterful level. And to see you guys and like watch how you balance your life, we ask these questions because we can pull and extract information
100%.
And implement it into our lives. And I said, yesterday, Cody Barton came up and he pulled up in his Lamborghini, and I just looked at it. And like for me, my barometer of success always, like, originally I wanted to hit $1 million, and like once I got $1 million net worth, like I made it. got there and I'm like, okay, well, nothing changed. And then so he pulls up. It's funny enough, he just pulled up in the Lamborghini and I saw it and I told Corey, I was like, dude, I don't know what it is, but like I always as a kid like said like I will officially have made it to my like pinnacle of success, like when I can be with a 1% and I can own that car and drive it. And so it was like the power of manifestation. I was like, dude, I'm like, holy crap, like I'm not renting that car. Like it's now one of my guys in my circle that has the car. I'm close. Like I feel like I'm so close. And I went up to him and I was like, dude, this is amazing. Like congrats on your success. He's like, dude, pop in. And I was like, damn.
Yeah.
And it just hit me different, dude, because it was the power of like I had to sit in the car to be like this. I don't know how long it's gonna take. It's not that far around the corner. But it's like soon enough, dude, like that's yours. And for me, just to be able to buy, I think I have to have it in the driveway to be like, dude, you've made it to the level that you believed in yourself to get there. Like the 1%, you became one of the 1%ers. And it's just this balance of like managing your social life, your family life, your professional life. And like, at what point do you feel like you have reached your potential in life? And I don't want to put it on a dollar mark. I think it's the person you become on the journey to that point. So the person I become on the journey to the Lambo, to the $1 million, to be in the room like this, that's how I know I've reached my potential. And I don't know, there's always false summits. And I think this is just like a fun conversation for me and Corey. Like, so I wanted to bring it up too. I'm sharing my personal story because I had like an epiphany this morning over breakfast. And I was like, dude, like we're in the right freaking spot for once. And I feel it. So
I love it when you have epiphanies. It's great.
That's great.
I'm just always on the other end of it. It's so awesome.
Imposter syndrome is real though, right? Like we all sit there and say, can it be me? Can I do it? I think there's not a single person who's ever done great things who's not dealt with imposter syndrome. But I think you mentioned about family, and this is one of those things where balance is key. It is tough to have all of your family, all of your life aspects functioning at the same time, right? It's okay to say that like there are seasons in life, and the seasons that you dive into family may be a time where you feel like you're just treading water with your work world, and vice versa sometimes. And I think that's completely okay to give ourselves the space. We're not superhuman, and like I think doing what we can and prioritizing those things when it's right to do is huge.
I think that this is just us personally. This is why we're good partners, but I think that we have developed this feeling where it's like, I don't think at any point the success of business will come at the expense of our family. And I've met a lot of people who have maybe potentially B's after their net worth that have been empty. And I think that can't be the way, dude. Like that, if your only measurement of success is dollars, that cannot be a winning formula in life. And I've met people in all different walks of life who have made it, and then they get there and it's like, well, I built this life I don't even love just because I had a scarcity mindset around money. I'm curious. That was why I asked about what's enough.
Yeah.
It leads me to my last question. Like, what is your overarching why about what gets you out of bed every morning? Why do you do what you do? And the reflection of that has helped me formulate the direction. So I'm curious on yours.
So it's people. My why is all about the impact that we're making. We are a human-powered organization. I think that a lot of companies and a lot of people today are running away from that, and they're trying to be, they don't want to have anybody close to them. In essence, they don't want to have employees. They don't want to have culture. My why is the fact that there's a lot of folks that work in our organization that have confidence that they are part of a team, and like that's a rare situation. It's bringing confidence to an entire industry. So yeah, my why is 100% based around the impact that I can make to other people. And maybe that's the pastor's kid in me or whatever it is, but like that's my drive. As Leonardo DiCaprio in Wolf of Wall Street said, I've been rich and I have been poor, and like I will choose rich every time. Yes, but the actual why is it's always about the impact in people. It really is.
I agree. And we had Brian North basically in tears on our podcast the other day talking about the impact that he made on an 18-year-old kid, 20-year-old kid from Ghana, and he's made it and then lost it and then made it again. And that to me, I was watching him, just like the way he thought about that, the impact on it's. I agree with you. I think that is even just like people ask, well, why do you do the podcast? Why do you do it for 4 years? It's like we've helped people buy their first investment property, and then we've watched somebody like Jesse, who we're here at Immersion, who was listening to us in his cubicle and now put on this event, and now we're here at the event. After the work that he's put in for years, it's like there's no dollar figure that you could put in my pocket that would lead me to be more fulfilled than
Yes.
that. I might be able to buy a Lamborghini.
That's right. But that's
okay.
the kind of stuff though that you can go to sleep at night and say like I've done what I wanted to do. Like you've made an impact. I mean, impact is so much more than, yes, buying things is fun, but like you get to actually feel the mission that you set out to accomplish is happening.
It's so funny, and I hope I don't want to misconstrue people when I mention the Lamborghini, and like, but I really wanted to like dive in on the person you have to become in order to be able to do that and afford that by yourself. And I say by yourself, but like coming from nothing, going through age 0 all the way up to where you are now, like surrounding yourself with the right people, making the right decisions, putting your money in the right place, putting your right relationships, prioritizing certain things, and just doing the right things when the lights are off and the doors are closed, and just like knowing that there is something more for you, right? And so I say this is a culmination of everything, but I think it comes back to people, which you mentioned, which I love, and like getting in the right rooms with the right people that are good, they have strong morals, they want to better those around them, and they're not having a handout and looking for something in exchange. And I think we found that here at Immersion. I mentioned this to a few other people. I was like, I haven't met a bad egg yet here. And I just feel like there's no egos in the room. Like we just met you an hour ago. I feel like I've known you forever. It's just interesting, and like what an hour-long podcast can do. But I wanted to ask you this, like specifically for you, why did you pick Immersion? Like, why are you here? Why are we blessed to share the couch together today? Why'd you pick Growth House and Immersion to hang with?
Yeah, great question. I mean, Jesse has been somebody that I followed. I love the concept of the Growth House. And so like just that kind of thing. In fact, during COVID, when I was launching my company, I had a very similar thing. I had all these friends and we were kind of doing the real life almost in essence. And so I love the concept of community. This was one that I kind of looked at the folks that he had kind of made at his circle. I said, I want to be a part of that. So yes, it is. I have a lot of circles. I have a lot of networks within my world, but you can always expand that. And it is important to keep it tight, but this is the size group that you want. You don't want it to be so giant that you can't get a chance to make deep connections. But yeah, I'm really happy to be here. And Jesse's done a great job of connecting people.
It's amazing. One of my favorite quotes of all time, and it's a very basic one, we use it all the time, but your net worth is your net worth. And I think that's so true. And like we value relationship capital, and it's a different way of like, someone asks you, it's like, how do you define rich, right? You're like, it's so interesting. People always go to the money, but now as we've gotten older and gone through this journey, it comes back to the people and the circles around you and the impact you're making in the world. So
That's right.
I say that to say, man, it was a pleasure sharing the couch with you. This was an awesome interview. I'm glad we're in the same circle now. Yep. And thanks for just sharing your journey with us.
It's been great. Thanks, fellas. Yeah.
You got it, man.
You got
Love
it.